The true Noor Salman is somebody who could have never masterminded this incredible thing that led to the deaths of, 49 people.
The widow of the Pulse Nightclub shooter on trial for aiding and abetting a terrorist. This after her husband opened fire on that Orlando nightclub, killing 49 people. Now her attorneys want the judge to dismiss the case because prosecutors failed to tell them that the gunman's father was a longtime FBI informant. Let's bring in our panel. Bob Bianchi is a criminal defense attorney, former head county prosecutor, also a trial attorney, and defense attorney Richard St. Paul. Gentlemen, welcome. So
good to be here.
This is a twist that I certainly didn't see coming. Sadiq Mateen, Omar Mateen's father, was an FBI informant. Does that automatically disqualify the jury from proceeding, or disqualify the proceeding with Noor Salman's trial?
It doesn't, but it presents a problem for the prosecution because this will now be the second time that the judge is likely to admonish the prosecution to say that you did not produce information that was vital to the defense. Remember, John, this case was hinging on the idea that she was the mastermind plotting with her husband. But now we find out for 12 or 11 years that this guy was an FBI informant and, in fact, may have been involved in activities where he was trying to commit potential acts of terrorism. And the defense is arguing we wanted to know that information, and the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office hid that from us so that we could argue third-party guilt, that the plan was really between father and son and not wife and husband. So in front of a jury, as a prosecutor myself, where they're going to get an instruction to the jury probably in all likelihood, the judge won't grant the mistrial in my mind. They're going to be sitting there saying they should have produced this information, they waited too long to produce it, and that could be devastating to the credibility of U.S. attorneys.
What about it, Richard? The defense has asked for a mistrial here. Does it rise to that level?
They've asked for two things. The mistrial, and they've asked to dismiss the charges against Ms. Salman. And here's why. First of all, prosecutorial misconduct. What took place here is, one, the prosecution withheld evidence. That the prosecution is supposed to do two things: provide evidence to the defense that will show that this person is guilty, and also provide evidence to show that they're not guilty. What they did not provide to the defense was information showing that Ms. Salman was not involved in any pre-planning of the attack. The defense just got that information. Now, she's charged with aiding and abetting. That means that she was involved in the planning of this attack. That information goes to the heart and guts their case if there's evidence, which we now know, that shows that she was not involved in the planning of the attack. The prosecution has big problems here that their misconduct may ultimately lead to the dismissal of this case.
But she went out with him when he was casing the nightclub. I mean, there was a lot of indications that she was aware that something was in the pipeline.
You know, John, this case rested on that very big fact that she was aiding and abetting because she was going to case. But what the prosecutors got admonished for last week was a witness that testified that the defense was never given information, but it came out in front of the jury that they knew that she had not actually gone based on cell phone records. So, one, the major part of their case about her aiding and abetting got eviscerated, not to mention the credibility of prosecutors, because the jury knew that that information was never presented to them. And now we have yet another scenario where that's happening. You know, from the beginning when I talked to you about this case, John, I'm calling, as far as material aiding and abetting, either a not guilty or a hung jury, and this makes it worse.
Yeah. And also, the father was an informant for the FBI up until the murder, up until Pulse. What did he know? When did he know it? He should have been a prime suspect. He was a government witness. The government did not call him. And then after they didn't call him, they finally exposed to the defense that he was an informant after they rested the case. A lot of misconduct here. I think the prosecution has shot themselves in the foot for seeing any justice for the 49 people that were killed.
And the defense is doing a very good job at arguing the reason they did that was because he was under their custody, their control as an FBI informant, and instead of pointing the finger at him, which would look bad for them, they had to place the blame on somebody else, i.e. his wife. It just doesn't play well in front of a jury.
It doesn't.
Well, the prosecution has wrapped. The defense is handling the case now. We could get a verdict later this week. It is expected to wrap up on Wednesday, so we'll continue to keep an eye on it. Richard St. Paul, Bob Bianchi, thank you both.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Melissa.